I got a bit of a question for you. Do we need a Destiny 3? This is a discussion that's been making the rounds right now with all the recent issues that I'll be getting into in a minute, as well as there just being nothing to do. People are finding something to be mad about because they're bored. Destiny as a franchise is close to a decade old now, with Destiny 2 being nearly 6 years ago. Holy shit, has it been that long? What the fuck? And in that time, the game has only gotten bigger and bigger, with new content, features, systems basically being added every year on the dot. So the idea of a fresh start isn't exactly new. We've had ideas of fresh starts for a while. And fatigue is definitely a thing, especially if you don't know what grass feels like. And I'm not only talking about the capital G gamers that play this game for longer than God has been breathing. I also mean in terms of the developers whose carpal tunnel is probably now a trench. This game, if we count Destiny 1, has gone through nearly 10 years of evolution, using the same enemies, same world, same themes, and the same characters. I watched 5 episodes of The Walking Dead and end up in a coma. These guys have been drawing the same guys for 10 years. Developing this game for that long has to be pretty damn exhausting, especially when your players threaten to skin you alive for not having Twilight Garrison in the game. So having a fresh start would wipe the slate clean for more creative changes, as well as some new features that aren't just a number that lets people bully me. The problem with slapping a 3 on the box is that we've already been here. I can tell by the way most people are discussing this topic of Destiny 3, they did not play Destiny 2 vanilla on release. And if they did, they didn't play it that much. This game has had 6 years of evolution, content drops, seasonal content, weapons, armor, supers abilities, and Sweeper Bot, the actual main character of Destiny 2. But that first year was rough. So rough in fact, and I know charts are scary, but stick with me, nearly 75% of the player base, a whole 1.8 million players on release, jumped ship at the end of the first year. Then when Forsaken came out, which is considered by many to be the best addition to Destiny ever, at a generous estimate, only brought back around 15% of those people. That was pretty bad. Slapping a 3 on the box is bound to make that happen again. People will lose all 6 years of progress that they spend on this game, lose all of the content they either love or hate, and have to start from scratch, with potentially none of the systems they were familiar with, and they will have to pay money for it, because Bungie likes money. Slapping a 3 on the box will not fix any problems content-wise. But what about technical issues? Because we have plenty of those. The discussion has been recently sparked more prominently due to bugs and issues basically breaking the game at a foundational level. Bungie every season releases a massive mid-season patch that includes massive amounts of balance changes, bug fixes, system changes, and sometimes even new content and systems altogether. In the past, these patches have been pretty good. Sometimes they kind of fall flat, but for the most part, they were pretty alright in terms of keeping the game as it is right now. But now, the game is stressed past the point of breaking. Complete sets of mods are either useless or do not work as intended. Mind you, Lightfall's big thing was build crafting, so we can't build craft for right now. People's accounts are being straight deleted from the game somehow, and I haven't even been able to log in for a weekish due to server-related issues to friend requests. Mind you, I only have like 2 of those. A combination of entitled Twitter gamers raging at Bungie help because they can't grind GMs before school, and people genuinely pissed that their overpowered Kvostov build doesn't work anymore is what started to fan the flames a bit. So would Destiny 3 actually fix the game from a technical standpoint? And the answer is yes, if you wanted to stop playing the game for that to happen. And judging by Twitter being a straight mosh pit because maintenance was increased from 4 to 6 hours, I don't think most people can handle that. Most people's arguments for a Destiny 3/major Destiny 2 update would be to move the game to a separate engine so that they'd be able to untangle some of the spaghetti code that's fucking with the game, as well as fix some fundamental issues on the back end with the game, like damage being calculated through FPS. Seriously though, why is that a thing? Bungie would also be able to improve the tools available in the engine so that they can better work on their visions for the game. But when you start talking about a game's engine, some insanely complex issues start to come up that I have no fucking idea how it would work. You can probably tell already, I'm not a developer, so for those of you that are devs, feel free to educate me by throwing the developer Bible at my face. Is it? Let's start with some groundwork info so we know what we're dealing with. The engine Destiny 2 runs off of is called Tiger. It is a modified version of another engine called Blam. This engine has been used for both Destiny 1 and Destiny 2, but between the releases it was overhauled, effectively making it incompatible from the one from Destiny 1. That's why when they remake raids from Destiny 1, they can't just copy paste. They have mentioned multiple times that to redo a raid from Destiny 1, they have to not only remodel and retexture everything from the raid, but they also have to recode every aspect of the raid so that they update to the style of Destiny 2, as well as make the code compatible with the new engine. Because this engine is nearly a decade old, some things are really starting to show their age, both because of how big the game has gotten, as well as increasing complexity in what Bungie is trying to do with it. Bungie is really starting to reach their limit with what they can make. Their vision is becoming stunted because of the software they used to make the game. And they couldn't have predicted this game going as long as it did. When they started Destiny 2, they were with Activision, and I'm pretty sure they thought that they wouldn't be on Destiny 2 for so long. They probably thought there would be a Destiny 3 already out by now. And for the same reason that Destiny 1 assets cannot be drag and dropped into Destiny 2, porting all of Destiny 2 content or starting from scratch would be incredibly difficult. Porting Destiny 2 content, mind you, that would be around 87 gigs of stuff into a new engine, and recoding all of that would take a year minimum. Another thing going against this idea is that the engines aren't free. You do have to pay for this stuff to actually use it, and not only that, you probably would have to modify the engine anyway to get the tools that you want for your game specifically. Most AAA engines that have all the tools that game companies would want are usually locked behind publishers. Think Activision with their IW engine, which is what they use for COD, and EA with Frostbite. Plenty of modified versions of these engines exist, but they are still owned by these massive publishers. For Bungie to use a new engine with the capabilities that they want, they would either have to make their own from scratch, modify an open source one to fit their needs, which mind you would be great for cheaters, or they would have to buddy up with the publisher again to get access to those resources, which they did spend like 2 years trying to break off from Activision, so I don't think they want to do that again. Would a new engine be great for Destiny? Absolutely. It would fix so many issues and allow the devs to work on things that are bigger in scope without them being bottlenecked. But is it realistic in any way in the short term? No, not at all. Something they could end up doing, which I'm sure they're already doing right now, is working on the engine while they have the game running with content being delivered, which is probably a fucking nightmare for the engineers that have to do that, and I feel so bad for them. Compared to what some people have been saying about the engine, the state of it, it used to be really worse than where it is right now. The idea of transmog, the mod system, and the seasonal model as it is right now would be literally impossible pre-Beyond Light. The Beyond Light reveal stream from all the way back in 2020, which feels like forever ago in Destiny time, mentioned that the game as it was too big to patch. Over time, they've improved the back end, but with what's going on right now, it's definitely not enough as it is with the scope of the game. So instead of just being that guy that complains for 10 minutes, acting like an armchair developer who knows fucking nothing, here are 3 solutions that I thought of with my very limited knowledge of game design. Feel free to throw the game dev Bible at me if these are wrong in any way. First, let's talk about the back end. If we can make Destiny 2 work on its own for the foreseeable future, that is what we need to do, absolutely. And for that, we're probably going to need to change course on some priorities. To Bungie's credit, their work ethic and content formula is incredibly good and really efficient. We get anywhere from 5 to 8 weeks worth of content every couple months, and then at the end of the new year, we get a massive expansion that expands the entire game. That's some pretty fucking insane delivery. With all this new stuff being added all the time, new systems, weapons, content, something is bound to give out, and that's going to throw the whole thing out of whack. So obviously, content cannot slow down since that's how they make money. Bungie likes money, so that's a no-no. However, moving some resources from things that can be less prioritized, Eververse, should be redirected to the testing, patching, and back-end team, maintaining servers, crushing bugs, testing content, that kind of stuff. That's probably not the best way to do it since Eververse also makes money. What you could also do is just hire a bunch of employees and engineers so that you can actually do that. But I know that contracts and salaries and all that stuff is super complicated, so I won't get too deep into the corpo sauce. Number 2, take your time. If a mid-season patch isn't ready for live game, don't push it, delay it. As much as some things do need to change, taking a massive risk on something that might just cause more issues is way worse than uploading a delayed .jpg. I severely doubt Bungie was not aware of all the things that would break when releasing that mid-season patch. While they don't have the largest testing team, I think I remember hearing they had around 100-ish or even more testers, which is not a lot for their company size, but is definitely enough to notice some major game-breaking issues like mods being completely busted. Investing in a larger testing team would be significantly impactful with development and would be able to let the community know that they are doing their best to keep the game steady. Be mindful though that even with a team of 500 testers, you're not gonna get everything. Some things will never be found unless the patch goes live. Having 500 testers pre-launch is a hell of a lot less than the potential 300,000 players on the low end when a patch goes live. You gotta give the devs some leeway here, because there's not a lot they can do with that small of scale. 500, 1,000 testers is never gonna catch everything, especially with a game as big as Destiny is. Having 300 players play at once is always gonna find more stuff than a team of 500 over the course of a month. Number 3, and probably the last one I'm gonna have for right now, engine overhauls. Bungie has made it very clear that their vision of the game is only gonna keep expanding with new systems, classes, weapons, gambit rework. Please, we need it. In between major expansions, make some serious efforts to improve the game with what you can to get ready for the next expansion. This is definitely pretty speculative, as I don't know if such sweeping changes are even possible, but if it is, that needs to be a priority. If the game doesn't work, you can't play the cool stuff. So making sure the game can actually handle your insane visions for new content is the most important thing. This is very similar to point 1, but just making a deliberate effort to give yourself more tools to make the stuff you want to make is just better for everybody. We get cooler stuff, you get to make cool stuff for us, and it would be less fatiguing for the team seeing they won't be making the same shit over and over. And that's 3 solutions from someone who has never written a line of code in my life. If I'm being honest, I don't think Destiny 2 is in that bad of a spot at the moment. In terms of content, systems, potential future of the story, we're pretty good. If Bungie can get the maintenance side of the game under control, we might be good for another 5 years. Granted, it's a big if, but if they can, we should be fine. Then again, this is the opinion of a YouTuber who knows nothing about game development, just got off of a 12-hour work shift, and is incredibly dumb and tired. So feel free to let me know how much you want to crucify me for liking a game that you hate. But that'll be all for me. Thank you so much for watching. If you're interested, I'll be leaving my Discord in the pinned comment. Lots of quirky stuff in there, so give it a peek if you want. Or not, I'm not your dad. Like, subscribe, go watch my other stuff, and goodbye.